You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the next big thing, the latest up-and-coming sports journalist, your host, Nathan Snell.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all staying safe. Hope you all had a great weekend. This is episode 16, episode 15. And in this episode, it is preview of the WNBA playoffs, part one. But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. You sure already had seen episode 15. I do apologize if you hadn't seen the videos from me last week. It was a little bit of a busy week in terms of school and work. But we're catching up. This week, I got a 2-game recap for you for the Maryland Terrapins football. Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders played their games respectfully. Some thoughts on that. I had plans to do an NFL preview, but because the season's already started, I feel like that's kind of out the wayside now. I feel like I could still get one out the way. But I'll probably just do like a weekly check-in with the teams. I still haven't made a final decision on that. Brendan Potts will join me on part 2 of this video as we for the Friday games. We're in the first round for the WNBA playoffs. Wednesday starts the playoffs as the Connecticut Sun, Minnesota Lynx, and the Las Vegas Aces, and the Chicago Sky get it started. But before we get into that, let's just get into I'm calling it the exit stage right moment. Now that we're in the playoffs, unfortunately, 4 teams did not make it. And one of them I was really hoping would make the playoffs, and they unfortunately did not. I'm going to start with the Phoenix Mercury. It has been probably one of the seasons to forget. 9-25. They have a top 4 lottery pick. They have a second round pick that is going to Chicago when they traded for Diamond DeShields, Michaela Onwuede, and Marina Maybe trade. They do have an extra 3rd round pick for this upcoming draft. A couple things that stand out to me. We know for a fact that Skylar Diggins-Smith will not be a Phoenix Mercury amidst of all the issues that have been occurring with them. And I think it was pretty much known when the exit interview with Diana, when she was asked about Skylar, and the response was next question. Megan Gustafsson, who I thought had a good year. Some teams may pay her. I could definitely see her getting some looks. Shea Petty, and I think Six Satin as well. And then Brittany Griner, who we all know we'll most likely resign with her. We'll resign with Phoenix, excuse me. You still have Diana Taurasi, who is in the last year of her contract next year. She's already committed to finishing off the contract and wants to be in the Olympics for next year because next year is an Olympic year. So got Sophie Cunningham, Breonna Turner, Mariah Jefferson, Michaela Onyenuede, and Kadi Sissoko. I really thought a lot of it started just last year. This is a team that was 2 years away from being in the WNBA finals and didn't do that well after this year. Last year, didn't have Brittany Griner, and there were just a lot of things. I thought the hiring of Vanessa Nygaard was not the best decision. DT looks is an older player. I don't think they did enough to build on the championship success. When they weren't available, Phoenix just wasn't a good team, and it showed. The lineups that they had out there were very questionable. They're going to figure out their off-season goals. I think they need to really figure out who to build the culture around. Even I think in a perfect world, it should be around BG, but the fact that it's kind of still built around a player in Diana Taurasi and just how some things were handled. Disappointing that this management group did not do enough to make sure that Skylar had what she needed in terms of resources. When the player comes out on social media and speaks out on the things that she did not receive, that's a bad look. They got some money to spend. I think the biggest priority is going after BG first. They will have a new GM who I think starts. I think they'll should have already gotten the job already. His name is Nick Urin. That's about it. I can see her taking a hometown discount. They're probably going to go after players like NECA, John Paul Jones, maybe. Brandon Stewart, I don't see her heading for free agency. Jewel Lloyd, Seattle locked them up. And Kylie Copper, Chicago locked them up. They got to hit it on this draft. And they can't tank going into next year because they gave up their 2025 first round pick. That wasn't smart. So Phoenix has a bit of some work to do on this off season. The next team is the Seattle Storm. Joe Lloyd, I think that's the first where to start. Re-signed with them. I did not see her going anywhere else. I don't really know. I'm different when it comes to free agency. I am. I believe in creating your own identity and legacy. I think trying to create super teams and all that stuff, I just don't think that's just a good look for teams. I think there's got to be some type of a balance. Seattle finished the year 10-25. They have most likely they have the third or fourth best odds for this draft. They're in the lottery. Gabby Williams has already stated that she will not be back next season because next season officially starts their prioritization. And it's also an Olympic year, but she will be back 2025. Joyner Holmes, and Yvonne Turner were also free agents as well. Mercedes Russell, Ezzie McMagor, Kia Nurse, Sammy Wickham, Jordan Horston, and a couple of Jay Melbourne, another other player. They're all under contract. Again, this was a big difference. This was a team that just lost a big piece in Breanna Stewart and then Suba retiring. Now, there were some pieces, but they kind of fell off in the second half of the season, particularly Ezzie McMagor. Kia Nurse was coming off an injury. But she looked good in the minutes that she was given. Sammy Wickham was a good piece to have. They just got to figure out what they need to prioritize in terms of signing. I still think they can get some free agents there. They just got to find another second, like a third option for her. Because right now it's Ezzy McGuire and Jewel Loyd's 1 and 2 scoring options, in my opinion. Other than that, I mean, Jordan Horston has shown promise. Dulcie Fracom, I can't pronounce her last name, has shown promise. Yeah, so there's a lot of potential with Seattle. They have their draft picks all in stock for the next 2 years, but they're just going to have to just build around Jewel Loyd. This is now her team, and she can't be cored neither. So, yeah, now that she's locked up, I'm happy for her. So I didn't see her going anywhere. So I'm happy for her on that one. The Indiana Fever. I called it. I predicted they would win 13 games, and they did. That is an impressive mark. This is going in the right direction. More than likely, I still think they'll look for. I think there's still some pieces to the puzzle that needs some fixing. Emma Cannon, Amanda Zawi, and Maya Caldwell. Maya Caldwell is a reserved free agent, and Amanda Zawi and Emma are unrestricted. This team is tough to kind of get a fix on because I hear all the, things what people are saying, but realistically, we have to kind of be honest in what you're expecting in return. Like, we know Aaliyah Boston is a franchise player. We know this is the team that's built around her. And same around with Kelsey Mitchell and Alyssa Smith. But it's really a little bit tough to figure out. Like, if you're saying, well, trade Kelsey Mitchell, what are you expecting in return? You know what I'm saying? Yes, they showed promise. And I think this is the offseason where they have to spend their money wisely because they went after Jontel Lavender and Danielle Robinson. And there were 3-year deals that were guaranteed. And Jantel was bought out, her contract. And then they traded Danielle Robinson to Atlanta. So they can't do that again. Outside the money they paid Erica Wheeler and Kelsey Mitchell, and then they paid Victoria Vivians. I mean, everyone's on a rookie scale contract. And pretty much the roster is cheap, so they have money. I think they still would have a little bit just under about $400,000 in cap to spend. So they're definitely they could do it. They could do a sign and trade. They could do like a super max with that. But they have to find the right player and who to spend that on, especially. I still think I think the draft is the best way to build. I mean, you could find a couple players in the draft in the free agency, but I really think they need a wing player. I don't think they need another guard. They don't need another center, or a forward. I think they need a true wing, a true point guard, in my opinion. That's just how I see it. I personally think, Kelsey's a 2. I mean, yeah, you can draft somebody and have them rotate or sign like a NECA, but I think I don't know. I'm very torn on that. And again, I know everybody has been saying like Skylar Diggins-Smith and being a free agent. I could see that, but it all depends on where they're drafting. Personally, I think Indiana's going to have the 2nd overall pick this upcoming draft. So that's about it. They got an interesting off season to build off this year. Lynn Dunn, I think, will get it right. Just got to see what happens with free agency first in the draft. But I can see them most likely probably going after a player or two. And I can see Skylar Diggins-Smith in the Indiana uniform, but it has to be for the right price. And then also, too, you got to figure out what you're going to do about the rest of your core. You paid Erica Wheeler, you paid Kelsey Mitchell. Do we just build to the draft and just have them listen to the league to continue to develop. Totally up to them. And then the final team, the Los Angeles Sparks. This was just another year, just like the Mystics. It was another up and down year. In terms of injuries, this is probably one of the seasons that you could forget. They were 17 and 23. NECA is some of your biggest free agent, of course. Jasmine Thomas. She cannot be court, so she'd be unrestricted. Katie Lou Samuelson, Chinea Glumake, LaShare Clarendon, Jordan Canada, and Carly Samuelson. Pretty much like those some other contracts. I still think when you look at this Sparks team, it has the fingerprints of Derek Fisher all written all over it. And Kurt Miller had his work cut off for him. It's a new era. They have Karen Bryant as a GM as well, but they definitely got some things that they got to figure out. Katie Lou should be back next year. She missed this year due to pregnancy of her first child. Stephanie Torbert tore her ACL. Lexi Brown had a non-COVID illness. It looked like it was going to be a good breakout year for her. And then NECA put up, I thought, was a good historical season. And LaShare Clarendon, she got hurt. So there is a lot to take in there. Janae didn't play as well. So there's some positives to build with this team in Los Angeles. It's just making sure they're all hits and misses. I could see them getting back competitive. I think the biggest thing is everyone getting back healthy. That's the first thing. Jordan Canada, to me, most improved player, in my personal opinion. Asbury Stevens had a good year. Just got to see what they're going to do in the offseason. They just had to have 6 players on the contract at the moment. Lexi Brown, Zaya Cook, Asbury Stevenson. Dearica Hamby played 40 games this year. Now she talked about that was probably her biggest adversity this year, especially after giving birth to her second child, her son. Went out there, played her ass off. Definitely give her flowers for that. So they definitely got some things to figure out. They're going to have to also understand that NECA is getting older. I believe she'll be 30. She just turned 33, in July. So you're going to have to find her some help. And I think they can. And also too, I think they need some perimeter shooting, in my opinion. In terms of free agents, Benai Delaney also just got contract extension, as well as Kalia and Joel. So there's not that many out options out there. They can try to maybe trade, see if they can see what they can get. But maybe like a Cameron Brink, a Caitlin Clark, Leah Edwards, maybe a Paige, maybe a Rakia Jackson could be a good fit in there. So they definitely got some things to figure out. So it's going to be an interesting offseason for these 4 teams. Now, let's transition into the playoffs. As we look at the 2023 playoffs, this is the official seeding of the playoffs. The number 1 seed is Las Vegas Aces, New York Liberty, next 2nd seed, 3 seed Connecticut Sun, 4th seed Dallas Wings, 5th seed Atlanta Dream, 6th seed Minnesota Lynx, Washington, and finish off the 8th seed, the Chicago Sky. And Wednesday starts game 1 of the WNBA playoffs. Hey, look, when you look at these teams, everyone has their own journey. For a team like Minnesota, for example, to start off 0-6 and then make to the playoffs. That just speaks on the everyone was bought in. Just speaks on the coach that Sean Reeves is. And hey, they made the playoffs despite having the 10th best point differential in the league. I can't believe I saw that stat somewhere. So they were not that better than the Fever and the Sparks. So that tells you how well they are in close games. And then, Chicago, I give them credit as well. This was a team that, we all were like, James Wade, what are you doing? So they have firepower, but they've been wildly inconsistent this year. And hey, look, this is the first time for Atlanta. They haven't made the playoffs since 2018. How they're going to we can see it's going to be interesting to see how they look in the playoffs. And I think they'll be okay. I'm just curious to see how they'll handle the moment, in my personal opinion. And then the Washington Mystics. It's just been a crazy year in terms of injuries. But I think we know what this team can be. We know what this team is we know this team can be competitive night in and night out. I'm super stoked for what this team can be. The key is, to me, Elena Deladon, Era Atkins, Natasha Cloud. I know Brittany Sykes going to go out there and play her butt off. Had the game-winning shot against New York. I think they're going to make things a lot interesting for New York, in my personal opinion. Dallas. The biggest thing for me with Dallas is image. I think that they can be their worst enemy at times. They can shoot you. Like an example, Enrique can shoot you, keep you in a game, but also take you out of a game with his shooting. And I think it's going to be interesting to see how teams scheme Dallas, particularly on the offensive side of the ball, especially when getting offensive rebounds. They have the potential. This is my sleeper. This is another sleeper I predict to get to the finals, but there are some things that they do need to fix, and we're going to be curious to watching them for sure. Connecticut. This was a team without Bree Jones made to the playoffs. Dejanay Carrington, who is also in the conversation for Sixth Player of the Year. I think this team can get back to the finals. I'm just a little concerned about their bench production. And then the biggest thing is what you get from your guards. Tiffany Hayes, they made a trade for her, and this is what they brought her in for. Alyssa Thomas is going to go out there and she's going to give you maximum effort. She's going to play 40 minutes. You're going to see double-double numbers. DeWanna Bonner. They're going to get theirs, but it's the others around them. They've got to step it up. And that's the key. New York. The key for them is they have to play 40 minutes of basketball consistently on both sides of the ball well. You just can't have one half and it looks different on the other half. Other than that, I think they're a team that when they're clicking, nobody can beat them. Their offense can battle with these teams, but especially if you're going out in the postseason where you're facing teams, because the game slows down come playoffs. It has to be sustainable against teams like Dallas, Connecticut, Washington, and even the potential matchup they'll have against Washington, because those same shots, teams are going to scheme with that. So it's going to be curious to see how Coach Brondello schemes them offensively. And the Las Vegas Aces. It's going to be curious to see how they look. Asia Wilson has been the most efficient this whole season. And it's curious to know her playoff times. She's even takes it 3 times different. So it's interesting to know that between the core 4, they all average at least 15 points. So I think everyone is ready to pick up the scoring when needed to. Just basically, I'm just curious to see what their bench will get, what they'll get out their bench. That is the key for me. But I mean, that's how I just look at the teams so far. But for the Minnesota Lynx and this Connecticut Sun versus the Minnesota Lynx game 1. For me, this is going to be a good match. I think this is going to go to three. This is just going to go to 3 games. The higher seed gets the first 2 games at home, and then the lower seed gets 1 game if it's necessary, if it gets to game 3. The first game is Wednesday, 8 o'clock. It'll be on ESPN2. If you want to stream it, I think it's on Fubo. I want to say it is. To me, the keys in this game, I'm gonna watch who can keep their turnovers down. They got to take, especially Minnesota. They have to be better for taking care of the ball. So does Connecticut. Look at Connecticut. They had the second best defensive rating this season. Only now allowed about almost 99 points per 100 possessions. I saw that stat somewhere, and I was like, wow. When against their opponents turn the ball over, it's like about less than 20%. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Lynx will take care of the ball, because they have the second worst turnover rate. And they have most teams, and they allow almost 17 points off turnovers. And they were second to last in the league. And they lead, and then on the flip side, Connecticut, they feed off turnovers, especially in the transition. They're almost about 20 points on turnovers. So I'm definitely going to be curious to see how they look. Defensively, they're going to have to figure out how to contain Alyssa Thomas. They were 3-1 against Minnesota, and it's curious to see how they will defend her. If you remember, she had that 20 and 12, had that triple double. She scored 20 points, 20 rebounds, 12 assists. That was the August 1st game. And then she had a triple double against them on the 30th of July. So she's averaging a triple double against them. So I'm curious to see how they will defend her. If I'm her, I'm double teaming her. Especially on the weak side, because it's going to be one-on-one defensively. They can't guard her, and they have no answers for her. And I think another key is the free throw line. I think Connecticut is a team that will work to get to the free throw line, and especially in the paint. And that will, especially, it becomes very physical. They're a very physical team. They score easy points, and it puts other teams in foul trouble. The key for Minnesota is they got to keep them off the line. They've allowed fewer free throw opponents than the Aces, and there was somebody else that Minnesota does a good job of not allowing it. So I'm curious to see how Minnesota will combat their playing style. But I think, in my personal opinion, Connecticut will win. It will sweep them. I just think Connecticut's a better team. I think they have the firepower that Minnesota doesn't. But I'm curious to see how Connecticut's others around Alyssa Thomas and DeWanna Bonner look. That is key for them. If they do those things, they can definitely do some things. But this all depends on Minnesota. I think Minnesota will get one. I believe in when you're a great player, you should be able to at least win one game by yourself. So I can see this potentially going. I can see Connecticut winning 2, sweeping them, and I can see it going to 3 games. But those are my keys for this matchup. Las Vegas versus Chicago. Hey, look, the Chicago Sky, the Cardiac Kids, they got to the playoffs. And I think it's going to be interesting to watch them too. It's just the same thing like with Minnesota, taking care of the ball. I think the biggest thing is Chicago. They are not a great defensive team, but they have an issue with taking care of the ball. They've had the worst turnover differential as a team, and that showed. You're not going to win too many ball games when you're turning the ball over almost 18 times a game.
Mm-hmm. I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
And I think it's also important to point out that, Las Vegas, they can force turnovers when they're like the sixth best. But I still think Chicago has to figure out to take care of the ball, because they allow 14. They score 14 points off turnovers. Las Vegas should have an advantage in the paint. It's gonna be interesting to see how Elizabeth Williams. I think other than Elizabeth Williams, I don't see them having much advantage for them, Las Vegas in the paint. The Chicago Sky, I don't think allowed no more than shots within 5 feet than Chicago. And opponents only make 60% of them. But in the points in the paint, Chicago gave up almost about 40 per game. I saw that stat somewhere. I was like, damn. So I don't see them putting up much resistance. I don't think this is I think Chicago should go big with their lineup. But it's going to be interesting to really see what they look like. In the three-point shooting, too, live by the three, die by the three. They were Chicago's fifth in taking threes, and Chicago finished second. So I'm very curious to see how they're going to take advantage of threes. Three-point shooting is definitely they can shoot the ball, but they can either teams going to get going early, or they're going to go cold early. So that's the only way. Also, I see this series being something is who shoots out who. And I think Las Vegas can do that. I'm predicting that Las Vegas will sweep them, and Las Vegas will score over 90 points in both games.
Guaranteed.
So that's my little preview playoff part one for the season. But before we get into that, let's get into the sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, Zagnif Apparel. Ladies and gentlemen, do you want to dress like you're already famous? You can and you will with Zagnif Apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
And you can most certainly do that with a nice 15% off using my discount code BIGNATE for your final purchase. Thank you for Zagnif Apparel for being a sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, we are transitioning into our recently new updated segment.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
I want to wish everybody a great day. I hope everyone had a great day so far. Hope everyone has a great week. I will have Brendan Potts on some later on during the week, and we'll see him for part 2 of the playoff. I'm excited. The Washington Mystics, New York Liberty play Friday. If the Washington Mystics get one of those games in New York, I will definitely have to be at the ESA and covering them, being around the sports block. But until then, WNBA season's over. Regular season, we got with 40 games. I cannot believe that. So that's my one final thought. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Please check out, you'll see a recap soon of the Baltimore Ravens and the Washington Commanders and Mario Turpin's football. With that being said, please like, comment, and subscribe. Peace.
If ever you find yourself in need of someone you can count on, call on me. I will be the shoulder on which you can lean. 'Cause I'm always here to listen, to be the one that you can count on. Pick you up when you start to fall. And if you ever need me, girl, all you have to do is call. I'll be the one to dry your tears, the one who will chase away your fears. And I'll go that extra mile to see you smile again. Whenever you need me, I will be there. I'll always be with you to show you I care. No matter what may come, you'll always be my friend.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share the next big thing, the next up-and-coming sports journalist, Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you.